Hey there, Canyon lovers. I'm Brian Special, and this is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters for one-of-a-kind canyon-themed t-shirts, sweatshirts, and hoodies, plus our soon-to-be-released rim-to-rim day pack, and plenty of resources for hiking the Grand Canyon like videos, this podcast, and our new Grand Canyon Shade Tracker. You got to check that one out. Please go to brightangeloutfitters.com. We do it for the love of the canyon. All right, today, as we approach hiking season at the canyon and beyond, we're talking training. Primarily training for the very unique brand of hiking required in the Grand Canyon. Few places on the planet do you go down before you go up, and nowhere do you go down as far before you ascend than at the Grand Canyon, where from the moment you leave the trailhead, you are on your way straight down, diving into the canyon to the tune of 4,400 feet from the rim to the river via Bright Angel Trail, 4,800 feet via South Kaibab, or 5,700 feet if you're descending North Kaibab. It's a long way down, and while it can feel easy, your legs are taking an absolute pounding, and if you aren't careful, you can pay a significant price on the way out. Been there, done that. Today, we'll hear from a quartet of canyon veterans. Canyon coach Benedict Dugoff, a veteran of many canyon hikes, including multiple double crossings, or R5s. Arnie Fonseca, Coach Arnie, who's a coach and exercise physiologist. Julian Coyner, who has 51 rim-to-rims under his belt, 51. And canyon veteran James Tenelsoff, who's used his cycling and trail running background to help figure out canyon-specific exercises and training regimens. Combined, they've got tips and tricks and training methods that can help all of us have our best hikes. All right, first, Canyon veterans James Tenelsoff and Benedict Dugoff on the basics of Grand Canyon preparation.
Canyon will always win. It's been there forever. It'll be there after you're gone. And until you've been there and actually gone down to the Grand Canyon, you just don't understand what the canyon can throw at you. You and I, we both live in Arizona, so we understand. Arizona's not just a desert wasteland and hot and dry and dusty all the time. You get people that they come in from out of state, and they're shocked to learn that the area between Flagstaff and the South Rim is one of the snowiest places in the country, and that you need to be prepared for sometimes an 80-degree temperature differential when you're hiking the rim to rim. I've done one where, that first rim to rim I did, it was probably 25 with a really brisk wind to start with, and then by the end of the day it was 80s, 90s, and you have to be prepared for being dressed for 20 degrees and being dressed for 80 degrees. The canyon, just, you can never beat it. It's gonna win every time.
My rule of thumb is that before you do anything more extended in the canyon, essentially have the fitness and the ability to be able to do 1.5 or double that. And if you're strong enough to do double that, then go do whatever that distance is in the canyon. Don't have a rim to rim be like something that you really have to stretch yourself for to do it. Be fit and strong enough and well prepared that it's not, I'm not going to say it's not a big deal, but that it's something that it's within your wheelhouse. Yeah, my rule of thumb is, and I would recommend this to anyone, is make sure that you're competently capable of doing more than whatever the distance and the challenge of the canyon requires. And I think that's how you keep yourself from getting into trouble. Ideally, I would say move to Arizona and go train there and live not too far away and start doing it in little chunks, in sections, right? I think my advice would be, if you're really going to respect the canyon and want to get the most out of it, don't plan on a one-off. Really plan, just like tree rings, right? You have a small one in the middle and then you get bigger and bigger. So go to the canyon, and you know what you're capable of, right? Do something that feels too difficult. So for example, if you think you may be able to do a rim to rim, well, maybe go there and do a rim to river, right? Or do a down South Kaibab across the Tonto and up. And in other words, have the experience of how hard it is to go back up, at the end of your hike or trail run or so. Like get a reality dose. Like really do something that you think is comfortable or maybe not too difficult and still get smacked around by the canyon, right? And that gives you a baseline point, and then go back and go train, right? Go train your butt off. Go do the things that are going to make you fitter and stronger.
Now for some specifics. Julian Coyner has learned plenty on how to get across comfortably on his 51 rim to rims.
Number one is I'd say you've got to do a 16 or 18 mile hike a month before, just so your body goes, okay, I did 18, even if it's flat. Who cares? You got some mileage in. Me, I have a 10-mile hike behind my house, the Chin Lee Trail. When I do rim to rim to rim, I'll do that 30 days in a row, 10 miles every morning, getting up, get to the trailhead at 4, and then hike back to my house, and my wife will take me down. It's about a 3.5, 4-hour hike, primarily flat. You got to get your miles in. That's how my son got tricked. He thought, oh, yeah, I hike these 14ers and I'm doing all this stuff. But you got to have the mileage in. Don't hike the Grand Canyon if you don't train and don't know what the weather's going to be, and do some research, because you can end up one of those people. We had 10 last year that passed away. You're not saying I'm not sure what their situations was, but best bet is to be as prepared as you can.
Coach Arnie trains on the same mountain that I do, Black Mountain in Cave Creek, Arizona, which is steeper than anything in the canyon, just over 1,000 vertical feet in just 0.8 of a mile. Arnie likes to say that when it comes to canyon hiking, the downfall is in the downhill, which is a big part of his training regimen.
Most of mine is done through strength exercises and that really attack the various pieces of the canyon. And the biggest one for me has always been that downhill. I'm a big fan of what's called pelvic stability. So as long as your pelvis can remain in a very neutral place while you're going downhill or uphill, you have a better chance of allowing your muscles to do what they're supposed to do. Because as soon as your pelvis tilts in either direction, you're in trouble. You're either going to get knee pain or back pain, or both. And that's not a fun place to be, but you'll hear story after story after story of people that have knee pain or they have back pain from hiking. And I've experienced all of it, but I don't experience any of it anymore. Especially, and Brian knows where we train at Black Mountain. That's it's a lot steeper than Canyon. And one of my goals, Brian, is at the end of the day, can I come hustling down that mountain at a pretty good clip and really challenge myself, some jumping and landing and just putting a real whack on my hips and knees and the front of my leg, which is the anterior tibialis, guys, and your feet. And if I can finish that day and kind of just look up in the sky and say, God, that was awesome, and not be sore, that puts me on the right track, because I'm not going to be doing that at the canyon. I'm not going to attack the canyon that way. I want to be ready so that whatever the canyon throws at me, I'll be ready for physically.
Like we've said, Arnie, we've got mountains in our backyard that we can train on and kind of simulate what the canyon experience is like, as close as we can at least. But a lot of people don't have that. So what are just some quick things that someone can do to train for the canyon when they don't have the luxury of having mountains in their backyard?
Okay, I'm going to give you the golden nugget here. The golden nugget is not, and I'm not saying it's bad, climbing bleachers and stair steps and all that stuff. The golden nugget is walking backwards. Walking backwards, it's an amazing thing because it works all the muscles that you're going to use, mainly going downhill. It's going to build pelvic stability. It's going to build knee strength and stability. It's going to build your ACL ligaments behind your knee, which stabilizes your knee. It's going to build hamstring strength. All those wonderful things, plus lower back strength as well, and glutes. But the neat thing about walking backwards is you can make it even harder. So you can add resistance to it, which makes it even better as an exercise. And then on top of that, if you add pushing, like pushing, I have a sled, it's called the Prowler. If you push, now you get to work your feet, your toes. I'm a big fan of working the feet, the big toe especially, and strengthening the feet and the glutes and the hamstrings, those pushing muscles that simulate going uphill. So those two movements don't require any fancy dancy lunging, weight training, all that stuff that I hear people doing all the time. Been there, done that. But those two movements alone will get you in and out of the canyon with a smile on your face. But on top of that, if you sprinkle in some specialty things, like some exercise that work the lower part of your knee that I've developed, and the hamstrings are your most important muscle group, the back of your legs. And not so much for the climbing out as for the going down. Because here's the key. If I can go down using up as little energy as possible, then I've got a whole lot more energy to come out with. So the idea, and the hamstrings are your brake. They brake you. They slow you down. So if you're having to brake hard, think about your car. If you're having to brake hard on the way down, you wear out your hamstring, and guess what you're using when you're trying to run on the flatter areas? Your hamstrings. So all of a sudden you turn around and go, crap, I'm tired, because you just worn out your hamstrings.
James Tenelshoff found a unique and specialized training program while on a business trip.
When I was living in Idaho, I used to have to go to Jackson, Wyoming 3 or 4 times a year for work. And there is a gym in Jackson, Wyoming called Mountain Athlete. Now it's, I think, called Mountain Tactical Institute. And their forte is the guy that owns the gym, he calls them blue-collar athletes. And he said Jackson, Wyoming's full of all these blue-collar athletes that they're ski patrol guys, they're whitewater guides, they're climbing guides, they're hiking guides. He said these guys need to be resilient. How do you build a body that's resilient? And you want people to be strong. You want people to lift weights, but you don't want them to turn into bodybuilders. But at the same time, you need the cardio, but you don't want to be super skinny like a marathon runner. So the last time I did the Grand Canyon, I actually bought one of their training programs, and kind of the two big things that they emphasized were loaded box step-ups. So I've just got one of those step-up boxes in my garage. I've got a 35-pound backpack, and I was cranking out anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 step-ups 3 times a week with the loaded backpack. So there is nothing more monotonous than being in your garage doing 1,000 step-ups. It's mind-numbing work, but the payoff is there. And then the other thing too is they actually had a body weight exercise called the leg blaster. You do air squats, air lunges, and then jumping air lunges and jumping squats, all in one side. So you do 20 air squats, 20 air lunges, and then do some jumping lunges at the end and jumping squats at the end. And you do 3 or 4 rounds of that, and your legs are pretty much bulletproof.
Then there are the infamous steps that can be found on all 3 main trails, awkwardly spaced, awkwardly sized, and often unexpected. They can be the Grand Canyon's true soul crushers.
Part of my job as a coach, if I'm taking somebody down or sharing somebody how to train for the canyon, I've got to make sure that they're getting ready for stepping down those big steps like that unevenly. And that's why sometimes, even though climbing stadiums and that can help, but it's what I like to do, introducing some chaos into that as well. So it's not always even. It's not always 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It might be 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, and breaking it up to make it very chaotic, and then introduce. And then what I've done, Brian, is set up steps so people have to step up and down at the gym even, so they and do that a number of times to get ready for that bigger 18-inch drop off, so they feel that impact, so that they're aware. So when it comes, it's not like, oh geez, this is not like climbing stair steps. And it also breaks up the monotony, because sometimes training too many steps can cause some tendonitis too, because it's a pattern. So I'm always trying to introduce chaos. Like on Wednesdays, I do these what things called pogo jumps. So it's like jumping up and down like a pogo stick. And so I'll do them, and I do like a number of, like, I do them in sets of 25. And then I introduce chaos, where I'm jumping and turning circles and going side to side, and constantly trying to prepare this and my body for chaos, because the canyon is chaos. Hey, what we like about it, it's a marked trail. You've got bathrooms. You got rangers. You've got people generally here and there. It's a great wonder of the world. It's close to home. But, you know, it still has chaos down in there. And you got to be ready for that, whether it's physical or mental chaos. So part of the job that you're trying to do, which I am encouraging you to do, is to keep teaching whoever is listening to this to investigate, and make a list. What do I need to be better at? Do I need to be better at going downhill? Because if what you're used to is a forest road downhill, like most places have, and you're talking about, and you can see videos, go on YouTube, you'll see videos, that I need to get better at that kind of stuff, then you need to practice that. You know, you need to practice what's called specificity. And if you're not doing that, you're going to be surprised when you hit those steps. You're going to be surprised on that downhill. 7 miles is a long way downhill, right? It's a long way. I remember the first time I went down Kaibab, we started early in the morning, 3:34. It was like, God, is this ever going to end? Is this ever going to end? Because we didn't know. I'd never been down it before. So think about that with a new person. And you're going boom, 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 boom. Can you imagine what's going through their brain, Brian?
And finally, the last word from James Tenelsoff. What's the biggest mistake that someone who hasn't hiked the canyon can make?
Overestimating their abilities. And I think the problem with the Grand Canyon rim to rim right now is, you know, it's turned into such a bucket list hike that I think a lot of people's like, oh, so many other people are doing it, I should be able to do it too. And I'll see some people where, some of those Facebook groups where the people are like, oh, you know, I had both my knees replaced last year. Do you think I can do the rim to rim? I'm like, you know, you might be able to, but is it wise to? Some people just either overestimate their abilities, or they just think, oh, I mean, it's a national park. How hard can it be?
Ah, yes. Famous last words at that. Our thanks to James Tenelsoff, Benedict Dugoff, Julian Coyner, and Coach Arnie for sharing some of the wisdom they have acquired in thousands of miles of Grand Canyon hiking. Folks, if you find value in these episodes, we sure would appreciate a rating and review on whatever platform you're listening on. That helps us get this show to the most people possible and helps us in our mission to help everyone have their best possible experience hiking the Grand Canyon. For all kinds of valuable canyon resources, including videos, this podcast, and what I mentioned earlier, our all-new Grand Canyon Shade Tracker, which we haven't officially announced, but you can go try it out right now. It's an interactive map that shows you exactly where and when you'll have shade on your Grand Canyon hike. Every minute of every hour of every day of the year. It is like magic. We think it's going to be an incredibly valuable resource and help people stay safe, especially in the warmer months, by hunting shade. It's a smart thing to do, believe me. I have, again, been there and done that. The direct sun is the killer in the Grand Canyon. So check out the Grand Canyon Shade Tracker at brightangeloutfitters.com. And while you're there, take a peek at our t-shirts, sweatshirts, and hoodies, including the famous Victor Vomit tee and an entire rim-to-rim collection. Again, brightangeloutfitters.com. We do it for the love of the canyon. My name is Brian Special, encouraging you, as always, to go hike the canyon. Take that first step, embrace the journey, and when you get there, whether you're concerned with time goals or taking your time, just hike your own hike and enjoy every step in one of the most remarkable settings on the planet. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters.